The numbers speak for themselves. In Montgomery County, Black and Latino communities account for nearly 40% of the population and just under 20% of the county's vaccinations. Meanwhile, 53% of those who have been vaccinated are white. All that per this county data. Statewide, the difference is even more drastic, causing county leaders to criticize Governor Hogan's rollout.
I think it has been late and lackluster, having first come, first served kind of vaccine appointments. It's a problem for folks who don't have ready access to digital technology, and so that disadvantaged folks, age-wise, but also racially.
Montgomery County Health and Human Services Director Dr. Raymond Crowell said setting up a mass vaccination site in the hardest-hit county, Prince George's, is not enough to ensure those residents are getting the vaccines. This data shows that. The state's health secretary shared a graph Monday showing that of the approximately 25,000 vaccinations that have been administered at Six Flags in Bowie, only 3,500 went to people living in Prince George's, compared to 20,000 from Montgomery, Howard, and Anne Arundel.
It's one of the most disheartening and frustrating things because, if you think about why disparities happen, people have access to time, to cars, to internet access, to the ability to scour in what I call these vaccine hunger games for an appointment. And just putting it at Six Flags, where you need a car to get to, is not going to solve the problem unless you have prioritization.
The health secretary said they're working to start prioritizing Prince George's neighbors and reaching out via text based on the county pre-registration list. Montgomery County has been working on its own outreach, from bringing clinics to zip code targeted COVID hotspots to soon vaccinating folks in their homes. Councilmember Will Jawando has another idea.
I think it would be totally appropriate, considering the science and the data about who is dying and contracting this disease, and to take into account race and ethnicity.
He wants to open eligibility to folks younger than 75 who are Black and brown, based on research from the Brookings Institution that shows Black people are dying from COVID at roughly the same rate as white people more than a decade older. Dr. Crowell said they'll consider it as they work to get to the root of the vaccine disparity problem.
We are a long way, and in Montgomery County, we think, from really running up against a wall called hesitancy. What we're dealing with right now is access.
Today, Governor Hogan said that General Burkhead will lay out a detailed statewide equity plan on Thursday. Jess Arnold, WUSA 9.